Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Govs on the Go Alumni Edition, a podcast featuring alumni from the College of Arts and Letters here at Austin Peay State University. My name is Dr. Buzz Hoon. I'm the Dean of the college. I'm also the host of the podcast. And today I'm talking with Lorilee Rager, who graduated from Austin Peay in 2001. Hopefully I've got that correct. Is that right, Lorilee?
You do. That is correct. Yes.
Okay, that is terrific. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, Buzz.
Well, there's lots to talk to you about, and I can say that lots of people recommended that I speak with you. So,
Wow.
Yeah, you're very well respected and thought of around this community. So let's get an update from you. Let's let everybody know what's going on.
Well, yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me on here. And I would love to give an update. And I would say, gosh, in one way, it feels like there's a ton going on. And another way, it feels like life is kind of simpler than it's ever been. So I am teaching full time as a visiting professor of the College of Art and Design, loving it, teaching graphic design, type 1, senior showcase, Foundations 3, which I didn't even know myself. Coming from an entrepreneur and still being an entrepreneur, I didn't really understand the education lingo. So when I tell people Foundations 3, I'm like, the cool part is it's these, baby designers and baby artists, I call them, of any age, that I get to show everything I know about the computer in my 20 years experience in the agency. And they're all really fun classes because I love what I do, but it's really fun to just be like, hey, have you ever used Photoshop? And here's the history of Photoshop and this tool. So anyways, I kind of geek out over that. But so I teach full time. I run my agency, Thrive Creative Group, which is here in town. I've had it for going on about 20 years. And that's marketing, web design, and graphic design for tons of small businesses, entrepreneurs, startups. We help everything from restaurants you all know in town, and breweries, distilleries, to community banks. We help a lot of good people, HVAC, plumbing, a very wide variety. And I love doing that because giving good design to good community people is a big passion too. So giving back there is a lifelong dream. And I am currently the interim co-program director at my grad school, where I went and got my MFA, is Vermont College of Fine Arts. And it's a remote low residency program. And they asked me to cover that position while they are hiring and looking. And I'm on the search committee there, trying to find the perfect best replacement for that wonderful school where I got my MFA to teach. So, and I'm a mom and a big coffee drinker. That's a big life update for me.
I was going to ask you, so how's it been going without sleeping? Because evidently
coffee.
Yeah.
It's going great. I have learned through a lot of hard work, a lot of therapy and recovery and things like that, to just love myself and take care of myself. So I really have a lot of rituals where I could, I haven't blocked off my Austin Peay things. I have blocked off my time with my team because I have an incredible team that is really running the show. And then, my afternoons checking in on the grad school program. And then at night, it's really kind of off grid and with my boys. It's which is wonderful. Gosh, just laughing and talking and cooking supper and yeah, I go to bed early and I get up early. So,
well, it sounds like you're you are at a very high point in your life, and that's great.
Yeah,
We're going to
thank
go
you.
backwards though, because I always
Okay.
like to talk about you're here now, but let's see about how you got there. So, you mentioned to me that you grew up on a Kentucky grain farm.
That's right.
And so so how do you think now that you've been out in the world for 20 years and things like that, and how do you think that impacted you and influenced you into made you who you are?
Yeah, this is a great question. I even start my students off with origin story
Mm-hmm.
because I want to know that too, and it matters. It's part of you as an artist to bring a piece of you in, and why why you maybe chose this career or it chose you in some instances. So yeah, I would say growing up just across the state line in Todd County, Kentucky, I grew up on a grain farm, and it was a large scale family ran operation. It still is today. And I learned through my journey professionally, which has been a funny one too, just a lot of different hats, tried a lot of different things, that it started out in design. Then we designed the plan for the fields, the plan for the routes to the grain trucks to the grain bins. I designed in my earliest ages when we first ever got a computer, and it was this huge box that also played a CD, and it was so cool to like charts and how to do gas and fuel logs and laid out maps. And I made little cards with everyone's phone numbers to laminate and put in their pockets. So when you needed to make phone calls, and like I was designing in my earliest ages and didn't even know it, but
Hmm.
I wanted to contribute and help the team of all my great uncles and family and neighbors that felt like family, that how to just maybe be a little quicker or more efficient or something in the operation of the farm. And when it came time to figure out what I wanted to do growing up was I loved art. I loved drawing. I have ridiculously talented carpenters and sign painters and bakers and sewers in my family, and a lot of artists. And I just loved art, and I loved making, spreadsheet charts that helped people. And not knowing all that at the time, it naturally just went into that, but the design. But I had incredible art teachers. I mean, incredible art teachers that loved me, and it was my safe space in school because math was so hard and spelling was so hard. So it was it was important that these art teachers loved me and loved me well, which they did. So these teachers were phenomenal, and the support of my mother has 2 degrees, interior design and teaching, and my grandmother was an incredible influence of just these crafts, you know, workers and good, just Southern people. So their support meant so much that it just merged naturally when I started trying art classes at Austin P. And yeah. So and my art teachers from my earliest ages all the way through high school. Locally here, I went to Clarksville Academy for a little while, and Kay Drew was my art teacher, and really, really, excuse me, really, really helped me just through those difficult teenage years
Yeah.
when you're confused about all the things in life. And so, yeah, I would definitely credit some really great teachers in my life.
Now you were the youngest of three girls?
I am the baby of three
Wow.
girls, and bless my parents' heart for not having boys and having a farm, but they worked us just like boys. So we worked and bush hogged. I can bush hog and graphic design. If you need those 2 things, if you need bush hogging or graphic design, I'm your gal.
Well, it does show something about your work ethic. I think that you see that repeated throughout your story is that, whether you liked it or not, I mean, that's just part of that was part of living.
Yeah,
And it was expected, but the way you gravitated towards wanting to help out and be a contributing part because you probably saw that evidenced in the rest of your family.
exactly. Everyone pitched in. I mean, we hit the ground running, and what can I do? Where can I go? How can I position this truck to be it easier for that big combine? And how can I bring a fuel trailer here? And that is how everyone operated. I mean, cousins, friends, grandparents, people from church, and most of the teachers in my life's husbands were also farmers, and and they all pitched in. I mean, mom made suppers for the men. The second we got home from school, we were farming. So it always kind of felt like we had a couple of jobs.
Now, I remember from my days and being a young person in grade school of making art and my mom putting it up on the refrigerator or things like
Yes.
that. But now, what do you remember is really like one of your first sort of creations that you thought, okay, maybe I do have some talent in this area. Did you, and has your mom kept anything like that?
Oh yeah, that is a really interesting question. Some of my earliest is, playtime on a farm in the late 70s and early 80s. I'm going to tell you, there's not a lot to do. There was no internet, cable TV, or satellite. And we had well water, so there wasn't a lot to do. So drawing and coloring and making and building and playing out in the mud was really what you did. And I really enjoyed. I think my grandmother the most, maybe to possibly shut me up because I talk a lot, and to calm me down because I was a little firecracker of a kiddo and just really really energetic. And she would give me all the coloring pencils and crayons and tablets and tell me to sit at the kitchen table and draw what I see. And I don't know if it just helped me really tune in in my level of ADHD and dyslexia as well. I I would draw the bread she baked that was sitting in front of me, and I would draw the pond outside and the trees, and I really enjoyed them. And I think at that point I was just proud of them. I was proud of myself and proud of what I had drawn. And I remember bringing them to school in middle school to my art teacher, Darlene Groves, and seeing her reaction to them and really, really feeling like, okay, I may be good at this. And it is not spelling and writing and math. So that's a great question. So yeah, I would say some early drawings for sure that I did and made. And actually going to Austin P, my mother has almost everything from that. I did watercolor, which I never dreamed I'd be able to do. And I did pottery with Dr. Deere, and I never dreamed that would work out. My mom still has all of that and proudly displays it. And I think I watercolored cowboys in the grain bins. My subjects were always, my surroundings.
Yeah,
For
that's
sure.
awesome. And I think sometimes in high school there comes a moment where we actually consider going to college. Was there somebody that helped say, Lorilee, you need to continue and you need to go
Right,
pursue this?
right. It was one of the things being the baby of three and having a mom as a teacher and my grandmother so supportive of just school in general. I think due to just the country life and country living, they didn't have those things. And many of my family members, my great aunts and uncles and people like that can't read and write or didn't go to college. And everyone worked on the farm. It was really a priority in my community. People left high school to
Right.
go work on the farm. And it was just something in our family that we're going to work hard to make sure you all get an education. It was really never a conversation or question. It was more of a where do you want to go? Where are you going to go? What do you want to be? So I was very, very fortunate in that way. And it was more of support from really everyone around me that let me know that I could go to college and I should go. And the main thing was just what do you want to do? And all I knew was I just liked art. And I was like, what am I going to do with that? And I didn't want to be like a kindergarten teacher because I don't feel like I'm that great with little kids. And
That's on.
yeah, I didn't want to be, a just other like architecture was sound fascinating, but sounded so intimidating. And I just could see the reaction on people's faces when I made things for them. And I guess I wanted that feeling all the time. So there wasn't a specific person per se, but the women in my life 100%. I watched my two sisters go to college and get grad school degrees to be one's a farmer with her master's in plant science and one's a teacher with her master's and loves algebra. And we couldn't be more different. But I watched them do it and do things they love, and it just felt natural to keep on that path.
That's great. I mean, that's terrific, part of your story. So you come to Austin P, and
Yeah.
what do you remember as some of your early memories from being involved in art and design?
Yeah. So my very first day, I remember walking in and meeting Dixie Webb, Dr. Dixie Webb, and she was so sweet and just the biggest smile and so warm
Hmm.
and welcoming and showing me Traherne was where I was at. And that building was just to me so mid-century modern and cool, and the smell of the metal and the sculpture yard and the pottery kennel, and then just going the dark room Susan Bryant had, and she was a wonderful professor for me and a great influence. It was really the kind of the first time, I'll say, from a Kentucky farm girl coming to town, like we call it, coming to Clarksville. I felt where I belonged. Um, I walked into that Mac lab, and I think Billy Wrinkle was unboxing these Bondi blue iMacs, the first clear, but they were like blue, transparent. Yeah, and it was like spaceships. Even the faculty and ourselves were like, "Whoa, what is this?"
Mm-hmm.
Putting them together, and it felt good and it felt safe. And then later, Barry Jones taught me web design, and Kel Black drawing, and we got to dance in his class. And I was like, "What is this world? What what is this
Wow.
world?" It was really wonderful. And I actually forgot your question because I'm getting so deep in my own memories
Your early memories. That's
yeah.
that's exactly what you're sharing. You're doing good.
Yeah, yeah. So it was. They just were all so kind and so talented and so accepting.
Mm-hmm.
Kel Black called me Farm Spice from the Spice Girls were big at that time. If it tells you how old I am, but it was because I always came in straight from the field, usually sometimes with a water jug and Wranglers and muddy boots. And he was like, "What are you? What is this about?" you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then I'd be sketching somebody in the nude, and then I'd go home. So life was fun and interesting. But as I got into my design classes, it definitely I feel like a gear shifted down right into where I needed to be. And I really enjoyed learning type, and I really enjoyed making business cards for people. I knew so many entrepreneurs in my life. Everyone I knew worked for themselves growing up. Painters and welders and house builders and all truck drivers and
Mm.
all of my friends' dads, same. And so I really enjoyed making things for them, and learned that on the computer I could make these things. And somehow I just knew they made them money too. So I liked that aspect. And it really all came together magically with the faculty being so loving and caring.
Well, it sounds like what you were trying to do is what you're passionate about, but also at the same time seeing how you could help people within your orbit.
Yeah. Yeah. I really did always want to just support, help. Yeah.
Gets back
Yeah.
to what you learned on the farm.
Right. Yeah. Really. It's so weird to connect graphic design to any of that in a
Mm-hmm.
career, but it does. It somehow does in my origin story for sure.
So I'm sure there were other students you enjoyed hanging out with and some of the activities. What
Yes.
kind of things did you as a college student like to do, and who did you like to hang out with?
Yeah. So that was another great way is being from Kentucky. We went to Bowling Green a lot. We did a lot of things in Kentucky, and my mother's from there. My dad's from there. And so we went on vacations in Gatlinburg and things like that. Went to Nashville for fun things, but I hadn't really met people in the area that well. So I met right now to this day my lifelong, foundation best friends at college, and they were these three girls from Dixon, Tennessee. They were all in different degrees, but they had an art cookout at the art house, which I don't think is still around here, but they had this student community cookout thing, and it was like picnic style, and we really all just connected there, just kind of walking around meeting people, that new feeling. And I met them, and it was more part of that kind of finding my people and learning about their, journey. And to this day, we're still lifelong best friends. Megan works for me, and Nicole works at the library, and Crystal is a graphic designer at the Tennessean. But I met those people. I met so many people in the community, so many good people. And I learned that, this bigger town is also a small town too. It feels, good like that. And meeting people really, and learning to have new friends, and going beyond your high school and your small circle of family was really a joy, because the community here, just to be big, it felt small, and I wanted and felt that small town feel, per se. And then I really love to participate in a lot of the shows that we had. Photography, and downtown was really thriving. This was right before the tornado, and downtown was really thriving. And you could put your art up in the front page deli, and you could. There was a place called the Brary, and just different venues around town like that I really enjoyed hanging out and learning to be, a young adult. And I was not really the one that felt like a fraternity or sorority situation kind of fit me, because I was spending all night in the dark room or in the pottery lab, because I was just never ever experienced anything like that ever. So I really would get so hyper focused on those things. I would be there all night and just love it, love it, love it. And then when I decided to move away from the farm and move over here and rent a house with one of my high school friends, I began to wait tables at Outback, and met more people that went to Austin P, and more people from Fort Campbell, and people from all over the world because of Fort Campbell. And just really enjoyed every minute of that. I made great money. It was short hours. It really fit, trying to learn to juggle life with a full load at school, studio art classes, which required so much work outside of class, and exploration and thinking, and setting up your design process, and then waiting tables for a few hours to make some good quick cash. So that was a big mix of my time here. I didn't leave the community very much at all. Like, it wasn't a thing where I went to Nashville very much or anything. I really enjoyed staying here.
Well, and again, we're going to jump a little bit ahead here, and the fact that how involved you are within the community now, if is it weird at all thinking back to college age Lorilee to say, hey, guess what? You're going to be an important part of this Clarksville community and help out a lot of businesses. Do you think she would be surprised?
Yes, she's very surprised. I am currently surprised. It's you just I'll say you just it's a gift to know something that you love and to be able to pursue it. It's an absolute gift and privilege. And to be able to do art and make them something to hand over to someone was really the core simple message. And to realize and look back now that it grew to this. I mean, I knew I wanted to run my own studio. I did. The entrepreneur in me really didn't enjoy, through my career of, I sold couches at Ethan Allen, and I was terrible at it. I was so terrible at it. I love talking to people. I made best friends with the people, but I never could sell them a couch, because I just didn't want to sell something I either didn't agree with or like or believe in, or it was very expensive. And so I was not great at that. And then a receptionist at a car dealership in town. Love greeting people. But every one of those jobs, I took my laptop with me, and I made the invitations for the open houses at the furniture store. I made the business cards and the Christmas fundraiser flyers at the car dealership. I did design everywhere I went. I just couldn't help it. And towing my little MacBook that I had, taken out my first loan here in town, all on my own, without my parents, put a lien against my little Honda and got it, because I wanted to make things for people, and I couldn't sit in the design lab all night they eventually do lock it up. And eventually I was going to graduate and not be able to do that. So I had to have my own machine.
Mm-hmm.
So I really never could have dreamed in this level of little building blocks and little steps that it would have really, really helped this community as much. And to drive around town and see, our work and my incredible team's work, which are also Austin P alumni that were interns that I never let go. And that, it's really something that feels great. And it's fun now. I'll drive to Nashville and see, maybe it's a dentist office we branded and they've expanded to Bellevue and Nashville. And I see my sign like, or Workforce Essentials. You see that all over the state, or Legends Bank. And it's just really, that's really feels good. And it's very unexpected. I didn't know anyone would actually care about who I was and what else I could bring other than just getting a logo from me. And they actually really do care and ask me to be on boards and podcasts and things. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's always about, we want to contribute. We want to, what can we do to this to give people in this world? And it's so great that, as you said, I want our students, and I know you share this story with our students, this idea that, even though you were selling couches or you're working at a dealership, it's never an A to B kind of step. Sometimes you take
Yeah.
these little routes around, and that's what I love about your story, because you even said that you worked at the Opryland Hotel, which was
Yeah.
sort of was it a childhood dream, you said?
Oh, yes. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if you know,
Uh-huh.
Opryland
Uh-huh.
was the place, like Opryland theme park, Opryland, just the feeling, wrapping up all I ever knew from childhood with Dolly Parton and Roy Acuff and Porter Wagner and my grandma, and like and the shows and the singing and like it was a thing. It was a big deal. So yeah, it was phenomenal that I was a receptionist and someone walked up to say my sister-in-law works there, you should apply there, and became a graphic designer for Opryland and moved to corporate. Like 100% dream.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a phenomenal time. So, and I really learned big budgets, how to produce some of those big events they do and do big graphic design things, meet celebrities in this corporate world that was just right in our backyard. And I stayed here, in the community and commuted, and which is so easy. Just, I could get to Opryland quicker than most people in Nashville could get home. I could get home and back because Clarksville is so close. So it really was a wonderful, special time. And I learned, I was doing freelance the whole time on the side, but that's when I did learn that, hey, I want to be able to make my son's t-ball game that's at 4 o'clock or 4:30, or practice for them, or be able to go to on that hayride, pumpkin patch thing in the middle of the day. And so that shifted into my priority, and the what fit that mold was continuing to do the freelance work and the freelance people. It was that bank I got my first loan. It was Kadri running Clarksville Academy. It was, Brittany Campbell of Legends Bank, who became a friend that, now works there. These relationships that Austin P established, that foundation, connected me to this professional level adult me in such a magical way that I'll kind of never be able to wrap my head around. Where we bought farm trucks, Wyatt Johnson, they're a client, so it all came full circle.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot at the corporate level. I'm so thankful I did that. I'm actually thankful for every wrong turn.
I agree with that, because you
Yeah.
never know when you're setting out if this is the right thing, but this is life.
Yeah. I'm willing to try it. I'm willing to show up. So yeah, I used to say, and my grandma would say, the same road that takes you there will bring you back. And I
Mm-hmm.
just live by that.
So
Yeah.
when you started Thrive, and then you're going out, and as you said, you start to grow that business into what it was. That must have been scary, but it also must have been exhilarating.
Hmm.
every little success that you had.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It really did. As those clients that I would make one little thing for would come back and ask for more things and ask for more ideas and really listen to me when I would get really excited, kind of like when I started the podcast about all the things. I can make you a real logo and a brochure, and I can truck wraps, and I can make you t-shirts for your team, and I can make you a Christmas card that's all on brand. Like you can have something just as phenomenal as Apple or just as well branded and put together as Coca-Cola right here in Clarksville. I can do all that. Like, get so excited. And they kept coming back, kept coming back. And I was working all day at Opryland and working all night for myself. And, I'd get up. I would be up, getting up from my desk to wake up the babies to take them to school, then catch a nap. And I was like, this is not working. This is not sustainable. So I took the plunge. Yeah, I quit Opryland and did the full time thing. And the first thing I did when I got too busy was I turned Austin P. And I'm not even kidding. This doesn't mean to be that big of a promo, but I called Kel Black and I called Barry and Susan and I had lunch with her, and I was like, I need some help. Do you know anybody? And they started sending me students and I started showing them everything I did and how I did it. And they started just being these incredible support roles. And I began to structure the business a little like Opryland's team and then run it like I did the farm. Or like I watched my father run the farm and how my mother was such a support role and my sisters. And so I organized it with those two things in mind. And we started making deadlines and we started getting more projects and we started getting calls and then somebody I went to high school with, would get a job and call me, or it would be a wonderful time to present at the Community Health Foundation, their new brand and website. And Dr. Van, my pediatrician, was a board member and these familiar faces. And then they would want, work after presenting to the board. Those people would want work. And it started to grow and boom and thrive, hence the name Thrive Creative Group. It just really, I think if you do good work and you do what you say you're going to do and you listen well and are just, one of the biggest things we do that people tell us at Thrive is we acknowledge receipt. We acknowledge what you say. We hear it and say, we got this, we're going to find out, we'll be in touch. And we do, and we are. So, and that's probably work ethic from the farm as well, too, kind of.
You walk the walk and you you do the talk, and then you got to walk it and you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know about business stuff, as I say, literally still to this day, business stuff as a business owner. And it was community leaders and clients that were so open and honest to share. And I really believe in leadership. You got one hand up and you got one hand back, and you're going to help somebody behind you. And because somebody helped me, and they showed me what an LLC was, and Judge Jill Ayers, helped me set that up, and Judge Katie Alita helped me do contracts, and Judge Joe Wallace, helped me review sticky situations, and Kay Drew told me, the insurance people I should talk to, explain who everybody was in town, and it was just really, again, it comes down to community and a lot of Austin B alumni that definitely helped show me the business side of the business too. And it just continued to help and help and help.
Well, in my short time here, the people I've talked to that are alums of the university mention over and over again that the mentorship that they have lasts a lifetime, that it doesn't end when you graduate.
Yes, so true. It is so very true. So very true. And I'll go back to the faculty again. I mean, they didn't ever stop being my teachers. They still took my calls and my emails and met me for coffee. And from the day they met me, Farm Spice, they didn't ever stop. And it's something that's really important to me now Now, as a teacher, that moment of just sharing with a student and listening to them and letting them know that if you show up and meet some deadlines, you'll get through this and it's going to be great. Like, we're going to have fun, and I'm going to show you all the things I know and all the mistakes I made.
Mhm.
And yeah,
So, it must, I remember, I was still teaching a few years ago, but I
yeah.
remember that feeling of when you come back and the blessing that we get from helping students. Do you ever see a little bit of yourself sometimes in the students and that help? I mean, you must.
That is such a great question. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. In this sea of students, the first day everybody's nervous. I'm even nervous, and I got this, and I know exactly what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Only on that day, not in maybe every other day. But it's one of those things where I look at them and I'm like, let's all collectively take a big deep breath, and let's all proudly raise our hands if we have no idea what we're doing, and everybody raise their hand. Because I resonate with them. They're the students come from all walks of life. They come from all zip codes, all ages, all different stories. But we start out with that origin story and build a common thread. And yeah, I see myself big time in those students. And I just want them to know it's going to be okay. And you're enough right now. I do, because that's how my teachers made me feel. So,
So we always like to end on recommendations that people have for students, and you've
yeah.
already kind of shared some, but do you have a general philosophy, something that you do recommend to get people active in their discipline and what they're passionate about?
Right. That's a good question. I do. I mean, I live by a lot of mottos. That's no secret. And I mentioned way earlier that I'm in recovery, and it was I had learned through hardships with alcohol addiction. Of I abused it to try to keep going, and it of course is not sustainable. And I really started to understand where I was hiding from things and where I would maybe miss a deadline here and there, and that was creating anxiety and creating me to not feel good about myself and things like that. So I learned to really just be radically honest with myself. And I would definitely tell students that be honest with yourself, because we all know that mental health is a real true struggle. And it's not your fault, maybe what you've been through at all, but it's your responsibility to save yourself. And 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 my big motto is show up and meet deadlines. And at the end of the day, that is coming to class, coming to that job, and 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 when you have that time off, really really thinking about your rituals and what you're doing with your time and who you're spending it with, and looking honestly at that. Because are you really missing the class, and you're really missing the assignment? Because was it too much work? Or did you not, on your off time, give it the focus and attention that it needs? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing. And I tell them when they meet a deadline, show me something. I don't need perfection. I actually am against perfection. It doesn't exist. So show up and give me something. Be here for that critique, and show me a scratch piece of paper that you doodled on because you had some moment of your life outside of this classroom where you really did think about what would you create? What would you make?
Hmm.
What would connect to your origin story that you could contribute here? Anything, anything. If you show up, meet a deadline, and that's really, it's made my classes, they stay full, they stay talkative. We have a lot of work to look at. It's really something I believe in because of my experience that helped me be a really successful student and adult and human. So yeah,
Well,
that's what I
now I know why everyone here loves you.
thanks, bud.
I think after this conversation, it's fairly evident why I mean, because you were an alum of the year, I think a few years
Oh
ago.
yeah, I did get that. That was so cool. Yeah,
Yes.
distinguished. Yeah, that was
Yes.
a wonderful honor. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you for not only all your contributions as a teacher, for helping our students find employment and opportunities and experiences, in their chosen field. But thank you also for sharing a little bit of your story today.
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to. And just thank you for having me and getting to have this cool conversation. It's really felt really good. I appreciate you listening.
You bet. And thanks to all of our viewers and listeners out there for checking out the podcast. We hope that you will continue to join us as we continue to profile some of the outstanding alumni we have here in the College of Arts and Letters at Austin Peay State University. So until next time, stay safe, take care, and God bless.